What does it mean when you cry over an emotional scene in a movie, video game, TV show, etc.? According to theconversation.com, they say it's because you have high empathy, social awareness, and connection, all aspects of emotional intelligence. And honestly, after watching one scene in particular, it makes me think that they're telling the truth. That scene would be the Attack on Titan Season 2, Episode 37, Scream, where Mikasa confesses her feelings to Eren. I wish I could describe how I felt after watching that scene, other than I was breathless, melting, and needed to even pause the episode so I could get a breather before continuing the episode. But while all of that is true, I promise it just isn't enough. So here I am making a video essay in hopes that I can at least come close to describing how I felt and why. I'll start by saying that what theconversation.com has with empathy, social awareness, and connection, all of that is here, but first I should probably explain the build-up to this scene for both the show itself and for my own emotions. This scene mostly just features two main characters, Eren Yeager and Mikasa Ackerman, and while the show has plenty of elite characters and they all stand out on their own, my first time watching the show, I would say easily my favorite two characters were Eren and Mikasa. I'll start with why Eren was one of my favorite characters, and actually, before he quote-unquote changed, I'm just going to say changed in Season 4 for the video. I get that the signs were there this whole time, we just weren't paying attention, but for the sake of this video, I'm just going to say, before Eren quote-unquote changed in Season 4, I actually had Eren as my favorite character in the whole entire show, because I felt like I related with him on so many aspects. Eren in the first few moments of the show was just a young boy that simply wanted to avenge the death of his mother and to destroy all Titans that invaded his home and the people around it. He struggled at first, of course. He needed help, mentors, people to rely on, but in the end, he kept something in him no matter what. Determination. Eren knew he was going to get what he wanted no matter the cost. He had a fire in him, the willingness to learn, no need to look back, and press forward till he's done. And I felt like I was watching me, in a sense. I also felt like I have what he had. Determination, the willingness to learn, a desire to win, but an acceptance to fail, all of that. It was entertaining to watch Eren grow. He, again, at one point was my absolute favorite character in the show, by a landslide actually. I loved relating with him, yet also watching that young boy become his true self and achieve his biggest goals. And whether or not you agree with how things turned out in the end, you can't argue over the fact that that boy had a vision and wasn't going to stop until he gets it. It's not what I was hoping he'd turn into, but I at least appreciate how well written he was. Now, Mikasa is different. Maybe it truly was just my instincts telling me something. I couldn't exactly explain it at the time, but anytime Mikasa had a big moment in the show, I just paid attention closer. I felt more emotionally invested. I just found her interesting. Over all the other characters that I love, but Mikasa stood out, and I think I know why, but I might have to explain why a little later on in this video. So, now that we're caught up on the build-up to this scene and why a scene with these two characters hits a bit more emotionally for me than any others, what was it about this scene that hit? Obviously, one part of it is just because I like the background music, the animating and editing, facial expressions, all of the technical side of things was done well, but let's dive a little deeper. I'll first go over why it hit from the character's perspective. Eren made this emotional because he recognized which Titan he was facing, and just like probably all of us, I thought the scene was going to have an epic revenge scene where Eren sees the Titan might repeat history and eat someone Eren's close to. But this time, Eren's prepared to fight and will take down the Titan so his comrade doesn't die. And, to say the least, I was shocked that that didn't happen. Eren starts falling to the floor in shock and disbelief as well, thinking all of that training and hard work was for nothing. Thinking his mom wouldn't be proud of him after trying to avenge her, and that he has no right to be out in the battlefield. It's a failed mission. Or was it? Mikasa makes this scene powerful because, for one thing, even though they're both aware that they're out in the middle of a battle, Mikasa takes risk. She tries to lift Eren up by letting out her truth. Mikasa confesses how much of a hero Eren is to her, despite Eren thinking he's no hero. Mikasa confesses how hard he works and how much he's accomplished, despite Eren thinking all of his hard work ends up in failure. Mikasa confesses how much she loves wearing her scarf, because in her eyes, she's wearing the scarf that came from a warrior, confessing that all of her strength, her loyalty, her bravery, her willingness to put herself out in the battlefield is all because of who she looks up to, despite the fact that Eren thinks he doesn't do any of what Mikasa looks up to. It was awesome for me to see my two favorite characters realize the truth about each other. Eren realizes he is a hero to someone's eyes. Mikasa realizes she should tell Eren how she feels about him. It was amazing to see these two characters realize their truth at the same time. I also loved that both characters realized their truth at an unexpected time. Eren was about to give up, but heard who he truly is at a time that didn't seem perfect to hear. Mikasa knew how much he meant to her, but not only did she lift up Eren, but for herself, it was heartwarming to finally see that she let out her thoughts that she's been holding in for a while. It's almost like Mikasa was passing on some of the strength that Eren taught her to Eren, while Mikasa is forming her own strength by saying what's on her mind during a time of crisis. And then after that, Eren stops the Titan that ate his mom, just not by forming into the Attack Titan. This scene from the character's perspective helped each other out, just not in the way they were expecting. It's a perfect example of sometimes you can get what you want, but just not in the way you expected. And even though it didn't go as expected, you sure as hell are grateful it went the way it did. And as for me, my emotions and why I love this scene, I'll tell you. This was a romantic scene. Kind of. That's already interesting to me, because in a show featuring mostly violence, war, hate, heartbreak, betrayal, blood, sweat, tears, and even death, I find it interesting that they found a way to add romance into the mix. And not just romance, but romance between my two favorite characters at the time. Because I had an emotional connection to them, I was already invested from the start that my two favorite characters are potentially coming together? I personally didn't think any of them had feelings towards each other when I first started the show until at the end of season 1, Mikasa starts holding Eren's hand. That's when I was like, huh, romance, eh? I kinda dig it. I'm not quite sure if they'll get together, but hey, I'd be down. But why would I be down? So, as an artist myself that has actually made cartoons in the past, and yeah, I put all my stop motion comic animations in the link below if you want to check it out, blah blah blah. I'm just gonna do a little bit of plugging there. I'm not sure why, but I like to view my own characters as family. It's just, I don't know, it's gotta be an artist thing, I guess, but I feel like I need to have an emotional connection for each character I create. And even though I didn't make Attack on Titan myself, the show did an amazing job to make me feel an emotional connection with all the characters. But especially with these two, and maybe this sounds goofy, but I felt like Eren and Mikasa were like children to me. Yes, really. Eren was like a mini me that I rooted for, and Mikasa was maybe just me saying, hey, if I ever have a daughter that's strong, fierce, and loyal to her family, I wouldn't mind that at all. To see those two characters come together for what seemed to be a possible romantic get-together, it made me think of two things. For one, it made me go, hey, if I had a daughter like Mikasa, and she had feelings for a young boy like Eren that, at one point, I felt like I could trust with my whole entire heart, it must be an amazing feeling as a parent to feel. Was I foreshadowing the feeling of possibly having a daughter confessing to a boy that I trust? If that's what happens one day, maybe I got a good glimpse of how beautiful that feeling must be. To trust that such a determined young boy will take care of a daughter you love and you want the best for. And for two, I was happy because it's what I wanted. After the end of season 1, I totally loved the idea of Eren and Mikasa getting together. And throughout the rest of season 2, I almost just kind of felt hopeless it would happen. I thought maybe it was just my imagination, thinking, oh, how silly of me to think that romance could occur during a time of war. But in that moment, I was happy. It's what I wanted to see. And it definitely swung momentum into me thinking, maybe, just maybe, Eren and Mikasa do get together. And of course, none of that ages well. But even though Eren didn't quite become the character I wanted him to be, and I actually still have yet to watch the final episode of the anime itself, so I'm staying away from spoilers. Do Eren and Mikasa get together? Do they kiss? Do they not? Was it all just my imagination? Regardless of how this anime ends, I still believe my stance on this Season 2 scene will always hold up. I guess think of it as the ending to Toy Story 3. If the movie series ended with Andy going off to college, yet loving his childhood toys so much he'll give them to someone he knows he can trust, both Andy and the toys had a happy ending. And sure, Toy Story 4 contradicted that ending because then Bonnie didn't even play with Woody all that much, and the series now ended in a different way. You don't just suddenly think the Toy Story 3 ending was terrible or anything. Regardless of if Toy Story 4 happened or not, you still view the Toy Story 3 ending as a beautiful scene. That's how I view this Attack on Titan scene. Regardless of if Eren, quote-unquote, changed or not, it doesn't suddenly make me think this scene is bad. I still view this scene as beautiful, and if the anime ended with that, also just, of course, with a bit of a different ending where all the Titans die and there's world peace or something like that, I wouldn't complain at all. And I am curious, is that a feeling a father must have when he sees his daughter fall in love with a boy he trusts, with the exception of his potential son-in-law turning into a giant-ass skeleton that walks around mind-controlling other mutant Titans that crush everything in their way? Forget it. I am curious. If that's how it might feel, then it's a beautiful feeling. Oh, by the way, you're probably wondering, what about in the beginning when you mentioned the whole, you said you agreed that you have high empathy, social awareness, and emotional intelligence? Well, that scene contains all of that, and I think I myself did. Mikasa shows high empathy towards Eren, which shows how great her character is, making me bond with her even more. They're both socially aware that they're in the middle of a battlefield, but yet use their emotional intelligence to win the battle. Mikasa confesses her feelings to basically empower Eren, and Eren now having a motive to stop the Titans despite struggling beforehand, which is very interesting. The show did a good job making that scene unpredictable, yet beautiful. And for me, I feel empathy for Eren. I wanted him to get revenge on what seemed to be a heartless Titan eating someone Eren loved. I even felt empathy for Mikasa. It made me blush and smile hard seeing her finally say what's been on her mind for a long time, while also using it to uplift Eren. I am socially aware of the fact that it takes guts and a good heart to say these kinds of things, let alone saying them in the middle of a fight. I'm very proud of Mikasa for taking a risk worth taking, and I guess for emotional intelligence, maybe that's just how I would have done it. The way Mikasa confessed to Eren sounds awfully similar to how I would confess to someone that means a lot to me. I just feel like her tone of voice and her usage of words just kind of sounds like something I would say. And if I were in Eren's shoes, I also would maybe just take a second to listen to what she has to say and to acknowledge maybe I'm not a failure. I truly appreciate someone looking up to me. And now I have looked at myself in a totally different way.